there. They wanted all power accumulated to Washington, D.C. And that was very problematic, as people know, because once you get power accumulated to one place, then there's a much less accountability. And actually, a really good representation of what's happened today, you know, when people get elected, like myself, right? If I get elected and go to Congress, a lot of people expect me to go live in D.C. That's where everybody goes to live, right? You know what other society did this a long time ago? China. It was called the Forbidden City. Anybody ever heard of that? The Forbidden City was where all the executives, all the royalty, and all the rulers lived. Nobody was allowed to go there. Yeah, people can still go to D.C., but we can't. If we go there like myself, you're not going to necessarily listen to one person. You know, it's kind of like you're not part of the club. Don't even bother. And that's why if you bring it back to the states, they're much more accountable if they actually live here. And I talked to someone else about one of the reasons why they're out in D.C. so much. They go almost 7,000 times a year. 7,000 votes. I mean, how do you even read the legislation for that? Well, they don't. You know, for a lot of it, they have aides and tell them, you know, congressional aides to kind of give them ideas. But when you come down to it, when you're voting that much on so many things that you're not supposed to be writing, because most of it's extra constitutional, then they almost out of necessity have to be living there. I think we should cut back extremely on that. Mm-hmm. You cut back all these votes, all this legislation. Mm-hmm. They come back and live in the states where they were voted from, and that's it. Yeah, and then we would have a lot less of these problems.
They don't really debate on the floor anyway. Why not vote electronically?
Yeah, you know, that's a good point. And a lot of these people,
imagine all that money.
And a lot of these people,
electricity.
They'll have their friends vote for them when they're not there. They'll be like, hey, go vote for me on the House floor for X, Y, and Z issue. And you can see it from the cameras. They'll do their own votes for other people. You're not actually supposed to be doing that. And yet people are just like, well, whatever. You see one person gets up in front of the Congress and addresses nobody. Yeah. You know, and that. You go back to the founding fathers' days, when Congress was in session, it was a deal. Like, it was a debate. It was a debate of ideas, and people went back and forth. And it stems right over to our political problems today. We get 5-minute speeches, 30-second sound bites, and they're like, that's it, good luck. I was in Clinton a couple of nights ago. Very nice event, pretty good food. You know, I like that stuff. But they gave us 5 minutes to speak. 5 minutes. That's enough time to introduce yourself, talk about a few issues, and that's it. Nothing of real substance can come out of that. You know, and I'm not faulting the Clinton Republican Party. They were trying to do a timeline, that kind of thing. But having more debates where people, like 2 hours, this is awesome. This is where you can actually talk to a candidate, pick their brain, see what they have to say, and pull them on the issues. This is one of the few chances you actually get, and I'm hoping there's going to be a lot more of these in the future. Because one of the enemies of this political class is an educated populace, of people that actually, of people that actually know what they believe and want people to be accountable. So I'm really looking forward to people doing that. So, yes, sir.
I asked the other man the same question. If you were successful this year and you were running again in 2 years as an incumbent, what would your choices be, your top 3 choices to head the Republican ticket?
On the president.
On the president.
Ron Paul, and Ron Paul. So, that's pretty much it for me. Yeah. You know, when it comes down to it, you know, I started in 2007, right, politically. And that was because my younger brother, Jeremiah Johnson, was involved and heard about this Ron Paul guy. Was like, hey, you got to check him out. And I was like, you know, he's like, no, check out his voting record.
I saw him.
That was the first thing he said to me. And he kind of challenged me on it. I was like, all right. And I looked, and it was consistent, right down the line. And I was like, this is unheard of. And so I was like, well, let's see how much further he actually progressed his beliefs. And he never wavered. He actually started certain commissions on the gold standard. He spoke against Alan Greenspan, who was treated like a god when he was the Federal Reserve chairman. Greenspan could do no wrong, and now people are like, wait a minute, maybe Greenspan messed up over, you know, lowering the rates and allowing for malinvestment in the markets. Which, if anybody was talking about the marketplace, that's one of my favorite subjects. I really like getting on that one, but yes, sir.
Well, you brought up Ron Paul. I'm gonna throw a real zinger at you, and I apologize for that. But I'm gonna tell you, Ron Paul's #1 cross issue with the Republican Party and the people that he might identify myself with is foreign policy, and I'd like you to air out foreign policy.
Sure.
Right now.
Okay, non-interventionism. There you go. More? Okay.
Define that as opposed to isolationism, because a lot of people are confused about that.
Very good. Okay.
Are you pacifist, first of all? I mean,
Okay, well, I was in the Navy. I worked in intelligence. I worked with NSA and all these other guys for 5 years with the Middle East, speak Hebrew, worked with Israel a lot, and I saw the problems that are over there. But I also saw the causes. And that's one thing that we don't look at a lot, are the causes. So when we go back to isolationism is when we do this, when our foreign policy causes other nations to resent us and to isolate us from the other communities. For example, non-interventionism means if another country has a conflict with another country and they're arguing over wage prices or they're arguing over crossing goods across borders, and we get involved in that. For example, Ronald Reagan, when he was involved in the Middle East, after he got out of that whole debacle, he said, you know what? He said, I do not understand the irrationality of Middle Eastern politics. He was at least man enough to admit that they were wrong. He said, we can't understand it. They've been fighting for thousands of years, and we're going to go over there and fix this. And I had personal experience with this when I worked with Israel and the Middle East, when I spoke Hebrew with them and everything. And it's like, a lot of times with foreign policy, I get a little more particular. With Israel, we tend to treat them like some type of stepchild. We don't actually allow them to do what is necessary for their country. For example, we give them $2 billion. We never give people money just for free. There are always strings attached. And so when Israel wants to actually defend itself or put up any kind of a defense, we're like, wait a minute, hold on, we're going to do a little deal. We're going to do another deal over here. And we give $6 billion to all the Arab countries around them, and we give them weapon deals. We're supposed to be friends of Israel? I mean, realistically, if you look at Iraq, Iraq is a perfect example. We've been to Iraq twice, with a major military, and we bombed them for 12 years in between, okay? They got really little to nothing left. Before all that was happening, they were a legitimate threat to Israel. They were throwing Scuds into Israeli territory for a long time. And they actually started to build a nuclear reactor. You know what happened? Israel was like, we need to take care of this, we need to take care of this. The U.S. was like, hold on. Israel just went over, took a plane underneath their commercial airliner. It was a small little, I don't know, getting into it. The point is, they went over, took out that one nuclear facility, and that was it. End of story. That was all Iraq could do because they were so poor, and they were like, oh, there goes our chance, and that was it. They took care of it succinctly, quietly, efficiently. And what happens when we go over there? We have thousands of troops over there that are over there for how many years? We have 100,000 troops in Afghanistan, which is a land of caves and opium. What are we doing with 100,000 troops over there? And there's less than 100 guys that we're supposedly trying to find. With 100,000 troops? I think our military is a bit stronger than that. So realistically, with foreign policy, when you look at it from that point of view, we definitely need to reevaluate. And from the economical point of view, our dollar is not going to sustain itself. We've seen that with recent Democratic spending, as well as before when we had heavy Republican spending. It will eventually come down. When it does, if we don't strategically bring back our troops in the next few years, they will be brought back, but it will be in a crisis, and nobody wants that. So that's really the stance I take on foreign policy, non-interventionism. Got 3 people.
Go ahead, ask somebody else.
Well, I was just going to say, if we bring all these troops home, I'll tell you, our unemployment numbers are going to look terrible. Oh man, this is the biggest employment program in the United States.
Actually, to speak to that.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I apologize. Speak to that tiny bit. We spend, a soldier in Germany right now costs us, the taxpayers, $120,000 a year. One soldier in Germany. One troop, boots on the ground in Germany, on a base right now. Not fighting in Iraq, not in the war of terror, sitting in Germany, drinking gold soda and club and, working hard.
Okay.
I think
that's interesting.
I think you talk about